Hey guys, this is Fergal from Poker VIP. We're back for part 2 of their 10NL Choral Coaching Series. So this video is going to be a follow-on from part 1. We're going to be following the exact same format. We're going to be playing 4 tables of regular table 10NL. We've already built up some stacks from part 1. If you haven't seen that already, I would highly recommend checking it out. And as I said, we're going to be going through, we're going to be playing some more hands. I'm going to be talking through my process as we go. And I'm going to be showing you how to take apart the game. So let's, without further ado, crack straight into it. So, as I said, we've got a couple of decent stacks. The bottom 2 tables, we're in and around starting stack. We haven't been able to get much going. On the top 2 tables, we have doubled up on the top right, and we have 2.5 stacks on the top left. So we're doing okay in general. And as I said, so let's jump straight into the action. So 7-8 suited we can definitely use as a 3-bet bluff. I think just calling is going to be okay as well though. Unfortunately we completely whiffed the flop, we're just going to be check folding. We have 8 high, we don't have a backdoor flush draw, we have some very bad backdoor straight potential, but that's about all we have going for our hand. I think trying to continue there and do anything but folding is going to be a bit of a spew in general. Ace King we will be playing for sure, and we will also be playing the pocket 9s on the button. So no action with the 9s unfortunately, but hopefully we pick up some extra chips with the Ace King. And we get raised, which I don't love. I'm definitely not going to be 4-betting. I don't want to be looking to aim to get Ace-King offsuit, especially. I definitely don't want to be getting it in, especially when we're like 140-something big BBs deep. So we're going to start this off with a call, and we're going to play some poker post-flop. Telek, I believe, is new to the table, so I am not familiar with how he is playing. There's a caller, which I don't actually love at all. We're definitely going to have some of our outs blocked sometimes here, but I think we're going to still want to be seeing a flop here. Getting 3-bet when you have aces is always good. We're going to go for the 4-bet. We're going to make it nice and small to give him at least what he thinks is the right price to continue. This is one of the worst boards possible for our Ace-King. We're going to be just snap folding it. And we have all the money in with aces versus jacks. We just need to hold. So far so good, and we double up, which is nice. So pretty substantial overplay there by pocket jacks, I feel. I think he could have done better there. We have the nuts with redraw to more nuts. We have a flush draw, and we also have the stone cold nuts right now, which is nice. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a hand he can continue with though. So, decent start to the video though. We get the aces all in pre-flop versus jacks, and as I said, I mean, even when we're short-handed, I think playing jacks that strongly is going to be a pretty substantial mistake. I think you can definitely, I don't think you can fold the 4-bet, but you can definitely call, and then obviously if the board comes all low cards, you're probably going to be losing your stack anyway. But it just gives you the opportunity to play better versus hands like Ace-King, which you're essentially flipping against. And versus hands like queens and kings, if an ace rolls off, sometimes you save some money when we just get the showdown cheaper than an all-in. And you have the possibility of flopping a jack, obviously, but we're not really looking to be set mining there at all. But it just means that you can play against hands like ace-king a lot better. You can play near perfect poker against them. And like when I 4-bet there, my range is very narrow in general. Like, I mean, it's going to be very weighted towards strong aces and strong pocket pairs. So I think calling and then looking to get the money in on a 10 high or lower board is going to be better than just looking to get all of the money in pre-flop. We're going to be folding our suited ace here, unfortunately. We're not going to be folding this suited ace though. We get 3-bet, we're going to call in position, we're going to see a flop. We flop top pair, which is good, but it's not amazing. We have a gut shot though, which is good, and we have a backdoor flush draw. He can definitely still have hands like ace-king. He has some ace-jack and some ace-10, but not a huge amount, I would assume. We're going to call, and we're going to see what comes to be. We hit one of the best cards in the deck that improves our hand without actually improving it, if that makes sense. So we now have an open ender and the nut flush draw. I think we're just going to be checking this back though. We're not going to get a hand like ace king to fold. We're not going to get value from a hand like pocket kings, I don't think. So I think we're just going to check back and play rivers accordingly. The 8 doesn't really change anything at all. And I think I'm in the same sort of situation where I think we're just going to check this back. Because again, for the exact same reasons that I just gave, like the hands like pocket kings, pocket queens that we're now beating are very unlikely to call a bet. And ace king is never going to fold, so it's just we're in a situation where we're never going to get called by worse, I don't think, and we're never going to fold out better either, realistically. So I think I'm fine with just that check back. Does seem a little bit nitty though. Here we flop a pair, we turn a flush draw, which is always good. We're going to start betting now. I think checking back the flop though is fine when you have second pair. We're going to have a lot of opportunities to take it down on later streets anyway, so we don't need to try to immediately take it down on the flop. When we're going to have the best hand there a decent amount, but he is going to be slow playing some ace x there, so I definitely think that there is merit to the check back. We're picking up some hands. We have pocket nines, we've got top pair, good kicker on the top right table with king jack, and we had queens, but we just took it down pre-flop. Similar, we just take it down with the nines, unfortunately. Wasn't a hand that we wanted to get 3-bet with by any stretch, but we definitely wanted a little bit of action there. Pocket nines is going to be good more often than not, obviously. The weak suited ace that can flop a wheel is for sure going to be opened from any position. My general rule of thumb is that I open any suited ace from any position and ace 10 offsuit and above from under the gun, and then we gradually bring in more aces as we move around the table. So ace 9, for example, from mid position is more than good enough, and we're actually from the cutoff here. Sorry, not mid position. I think I'm happy to check 9-10 here, because we're just going to flop a straight, because that is how we do it. As much as I don't love this check raise, I think we're going to have to. We have a hand that we want to be getting stacks in here, so we need to put in a raise at some point, so we need to start raising and building a pot immediately, I feel. So we need to figure out now what will allow us to get the money in. If we put it in 150, the pot will be, we need to go a little bit larger. So we need to go about 2, which is actually unfortunate. We need to go close to pot, which isn't great. But when we do this, it allows a fairly comfortable river jam. I could have made this ever so slightly smaller, like 190, which might have been a little bit better. Just purely because it looks a little bit less scary to him, but we get the fold anyway. Five-8 offsuit on the button is not going to be an open. We're going to go ahead and fold, but we have the pocket aces again on the button on the top right table. So let's hope someone just goes absolutely berserk with pocket jacks again against us. If K Tuftes wants to get the money in, we will be more than happy to oblige. No one raises us, but we do get called, which is promising. So we're going to start off with a fairly standard c-bet here, as we would be doing with a large part of our range. And unfortunately, we get no more action. Queen 10, definitely going to be opening from the button, and if we get 3-bet here, we're probably not going to be folding. We're a little bit deeper versus this Telek fella, so we're more than likely going to see a flop when we have position. And he makes it large, which is not ideal, but again, I think because we're a little bit extra deep, because we're a little bit deeper than normal, I think we can call, because as I said, we're just going to flop the nuts left, right, and center today. Maybe not the nuts, but you know, not a million miles off it. I think we're just going to go and click call here. Improve on the turn. The turn doesn't really change much though. The only hand that we're beat by here is pocket kings. I think we're just going to call again and then look to get stacks in on the river, basically, is our plan here. Hopefully he has a hand like ace jack, which would be amazing. So we get called, we are good, and we are up to 37.50 on this table, which is quite nice. So very, very decent pot, and as I said, maybe a bit of a marginal call pre-flop, but post-flop, I think we played it spot on. It's always easy to play the nutted runouts, though obviously it's kind of hard to go wrong with them. And he was very willing to get all of the money in himself, so an ideal scenario for us. He's reloaded, so hopefully he's on tilt now and will be spewing away some money. Flop deuce, actually, can we consider opening this? Maybe we can. It's open before us anyway, so it's a moot point. It would have been close, but I think we can at least think about it. So I think having the fast fold button on, or having the pre-fold button on, should I say, is maybe not ideal. The king-queen offsuit we are most certainly going to be opening though. And it's unlikely we would have been folding it to an opener before us as well. Scary enough flop. I mean, we have top pair, which is good, but there's obviously possible flushes out there. There's possible flush draws, straight draws. So we're going to be playing this hand reasonably cautiously. We're just going to start off with a check versus his lead. When the fourth card comes, that is a spade, we are just going to go ahead and fold. Interesting that he keeps betting. I would have thought that that may be a card he would slow down with regardless of his holdings. Because obviously I'm going to have a decent amount of flushes there when I have just called pre-flop, or when I just call on the flop rather. So when he keeps betting, I think he's usually going to have a flush himself more often than not, but it wouldn't be absurd to check some of his nutted ranges there to me. And here on the top right table, we've got second pair. We have a good shot as well. We're going to start this off with a check. We don't like the ace. We now only have third pair, so I was going to be betting a lot of cards on this turn, but the ace is not one of them. We're just going to try to get this to showdown now as cheaply as we can. King high actually has some showdown value here. I mean, obviously not tons, but very occasionally it'll be ahead, but just not that often. Here it is good, which is nice. And when he bets on this river, I kind of want to click call because it's hard to see him having strong value here, but I'm going to make the discipline fold. When he checks back after the ace hits and then just starts betting on the river, it just seems like he's going to be fairly bluff heavy there. We're not deep enough to consider playing the 9-10 suited to the 3-bet, unfortunately. It's definitely a hand I wouldn't have minded seeing a flop with. Queen 10 in the small blind, we are likely going to be defending it versus an open. Possibly even 3-betting it as a bluff. I think that's going to be my preferred choice, and we're going to go ahead and 3-bet it to 120. And easy fold obviously with a 10-3, never considering doing anything other than that there. So we get the Queen 10 bluff through, which is always good. And we pick up Ace Jack as a reward for our solid aggressive play, so we're going to be playing this on the button almost certainly. Ace 9, actually, I think we're just going to click call. We can consider 3-betting it for sure, and I don't mind 3-betting it, but I think it's good enough just to flat call as well, even out of position. We're not folding ace high. We've got a good shot. We've got backdoor diamonds to the nuts, and we have 2 overcards. So we pick up a flush draw, which is good. Ace high still may be good here as well, keep in mind. So we're going to be check calling again. We runner the nuttarinis, and I think we're just going to check and go look for the check raise here. Seems fine to me. Like, obviously our line here just looks incredibly nutted, but I think it just means that we pick up that extra bet out of him when he decides to bluff at it. Because it is a nice board to bluff when he gets checked at 3 times. So I think he will be betting there with a reasonable degree of frequency. So I wasn't looking to get extra value via the check raise in terms of the extra bet from the raise. But it just means that we can extract an extra bet out of him with all of his weaker holdings there, where he decides to bluff it, basically. Which I think is sound logic. And then obviously, I mean, we still have the nuts, so we have to try for the raise, but I'm never all that hopeful about getting called there, obviously. Possibly could have, probably made it a little bit too large, actually, come to think of it. I probably could have gone a little bit smaller. Just to try to encourage action if he does have weaker flushers that he decided to value bet. Or if he has kind of some 2 pairs, some set combinations, that sort of thing, he may try to hero me. We have an easy open here with the pocket 7s. We're going to see what comes to be. 6-8 offsuit is not going to be an open from the cutoff. We're going to go ahead and fold. And the 6 Jack we are not going to be defending versus the mid position opener. When we get 3-bet, we're getting a decent enough implied odds price. We're going to click call. We're going to see a flop. We're going to flop a set. And we are going to be losing a large pot here if we're beat, and hopefully winning a large pot with our set. Pocket queens and pocket jacks are definitely possible, but if he has them, then as I said, it's a cooler. We're going to be going broke. It's a drawy enough board that we're never considering slow playing here, so we're going to start off betting for sure. I don't love this check raise at all. I don't love it. We're gonna call. Jack is a pretty good card for us. Queen Jack is not all that likely. It means that there's less combos of pocket jacks, so we can still have pocket queens. That's true. We're just going to click call again, and we're not folding river at any point. I'm not going to be shocked if we're beat here by any stretch, but when he checks, I'm fairly confident that we're good, actually. So we're going to stick the money in. We get snapped off, and we are ahead, and we win. So he played it very strongly there. Whatever he had, he probably overplayed his hand a little bit. But we're not going to complain. As I said, it's always nice to flop sets and win stacks. So we have some decent stacks going now on all of our tables. We have not quite doubled up on the bottom left, but on all of the tables we have at least 200 BBs, and on the top left table we're bringing home the bacon. We've got nearly 400 BBs on that table, which is always good. Jack 7 multi-way here. I'm actually a little bit tempted to put in a squeeze, but I think it's just going to play so badly post flop that we can't. But this would be a very good squeeze spot with a huge part of my range there. So if it was even if it was a hand like 7-8 suited, I would definitely consider putting in the raise. It's just Jack 7 offsuit. It's going to play pretty horrendously post flop, and there is a pretty decent chance that we're going to get called in at least one spot. But there's too much dead money there to not try the squeeze there with a fairly wide range, I feel. We're going to be putting in the ISO raise with Ace 10 suited versus the short stack limper. My general rule of thumb at the table is anyone who's in for less than a full stack is probably not going to be an amazing player, and anyone who's open limping is almost certainly not going to be an amazing player. if you're one of the better players, you really should be in for the maximum buy-in, rather, should I say, at all times. So for example, you'll very rarely see me at a table with less than 100 BBs in front of me. There was a couple of spots early on in part 1 where I just hadn't figured out the auto top-up, but we got that sorted, and so as I said, but I was kind of making the conscious effort to top up every time I dip below the 100 BB mark. Because if you have an edge, you want to maximize that edge as much as possible by playing as deep as possible, because you see people making very large overplays. For example, we've seen a couple now where we have flopped the sets and we got all of the money in versus well over 100 BBs from, we don't know exactly what they held, but I mean, none, like our Queen 10 and our Pocket 7's hand there, we far from had the nuts there in those hands, and people still managed to get it in with worse. And they were happy to raise, get it in versus us, so like people were making fairly big errors there, I feel, with their holdings. So we flop top pair, middle kicker. We're going to start off with a check and a call. We're not obviously folding. I don't think we want to be check raising here either. The King 8 suited here we may use as a squeeze. I think that's what we're going to do. We improved to top 2 pair now, which is a lot better than top pair, obviously. So yeah, we're going to put in the squeeze with the King 8, and we're going to be opening the Ace 9, and we're probably just going to complete with the Jack 9 actually. Just see a flop. We're getting way too good a price to consider folding. ISOing isn't a horrendous option, but when we're out of position, I think just calling and seeing a flop is fine. I think we're going to go ahead and check raise our top 2 now. Seems like a fine plan, and then look to get stacks in on the river. If he is an overpair, he's going to have a tough time folding. If we are beat by a pocket 5s or pocket 6s, for example, then we're going to get stacked. The Jack 9 at the bottom left table, a little bit weak flopping a pair and folding, but obviously it's a monotone board, it's 3-way, and there's also an ace out there. I think trying to continue there is going to be costing us money in the long run. Almost certainly. This guy's really taking his time and making his decision. So if we were in position in that pot, we definitely could have considered flat calling and playing rivers, but when we're out of position, I prefer to sort of taking the initiative on the turn and looking to build as large a pot as possible. There's too many hands that he's just going to check back if we checked him on the river. And it's very peculiar line if we were to check call, and then lead river on that kind of board. It's on that particular type of run out where there's not a huge amount of hands that makes sense with there, so I prefer just going for the check raise and hoping that he makes a large blunder with a hand like pocket jacks or pocket queens. That was my kind of general thought process during that hand. So we get led out to on the ace high board. We're not folding. We're going to click call. If he has an ace here, I don't like his lead. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. I mean, when he bets twice, I think we just have to call down here, especially with his sizing. He's made it reasonably small. If he triple barrels, actually maybe we fold. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. If he bets again, like it just makes no sense to, like, he couldn't be doing this on a bluff, or at least it's very unlikely that he is. So it seems like it's going to be very tricky to turn a profit here, so we're just going to go ahead and fold it, cut our losses. Possibly should have folded on the turn, maybe. That may have been a mistake on my part. So we still have some very healthy stacks going on all tables, which is always good. We've got 7-3 in the big blind. Hopefully we just get a walk. It's pretty unlikely we're going to be defending it otherwise. 7-3 is obviously a trashy hand. 10 deuce, we're going to be folding. We don't get a walk, we get raised from the buttons. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and let him have it this time. So we have the unsuited connectors, not going to be good enough to call out a position, I feel. And the suited ace, though, we're definitely going to be raising it up when we are four-handed. We're under the gun, but we're four-handed, so we're essentially raising with a cutoff range. But ace-5 suited, I'm raising from any position anyway, though. We're just going to call with the tens and try to see if we can get this going multi-way and just go set mining basically and look to win a very large pot potentially. We get re-raised here. I think we're actually just going to go ahead and click fold, as nitty as it feels. I just don't think that this guy is going to be doing this as a bluff very often at all. I think he's going to be weighted towards, he's going to have some ace-king, that type of thing for sure, but he's also going to have a ton of overpairs to our tens where we're in very rough shape, and we're not getting anywhere near close to the correct price. So, as sad as I am about it, we are just going to go ahead and fold our tens. We're going to check back our ace-10 higher, actually. Ace high is going to have some showdown value. We had the backdoor spades, we had some backdoor straight potential as well. And when we get let into, we're just going to give it up. We can consider calling down with ace high there, but I don't know how good that's going to be. Can't be crazy though. So hopefully these two seats on the bottom right table fill up soon. I definitely prefer playing six-handed rather than short-handed. I don't mind playing short-handed, and I think I'm probably going to adjust better to short-handed games than most other people are at the table, but I still prefer six-max. That's where my primary expertise lies. But as I said, I'm not going to get too upset if it doesn't happen either. King 10 suited, we were going to be using that as a 3-bet hand. We don't have to, obviously. We are just going to be using it as a standard open. We flopped the nut flush draw. We're going to have a bet. We have some decent backdoor straight potential also. We're going to start off this with a check now and see what lob 14 at bets. We're getting 3 to 1. We have the flush draw still. We're going to click call. We brick. We're just going to check and fold. Feel like if we had double barreled that turn, it's a decent enough chance we would have gotten a fold through there. Very interesting bet by 7-8 there. I had one of the few hands that I can call with. I'm going to have a ton of other hands there that I beat though that I'm also calling with. Hands like pocket kings, pocket queens, jacks, tens, 9x as well are probably in similar kind of vein there, where I'm going to be betting once and then probably check calling. So I think betting the 7-8 is a little bit ambitious, but hey, he got value from the flush draw, so I can't say it was terrible. I likely would have bluffed on the river if he had checked back though, so the amount of money he would have won would actually be fairly similar either way. Pocket nines, we are going to go ahead and see a flop. And one of the better flops for us for sure. We have a gut shot, and we have, more importantly, there's not a huge amount of Broadway, so his kind of strong aces and so on have bricked this board for sure. And even his overpairs, when I kind of just flat call on this board, he should be reasonably scared. I'm definitely going to be flat calling here with a lot of sets and so on. When he bombs on the jack on the turn, we just have a fold in our hands, unfortunately. He's gone quite large. He's clearly got a hand he's looking to get stacks in with, so I'd be pretty surprised if nines are ever good there. Uh, 10-6 in the big blind is not going to be a defend, but the ace-4 suited over in the top right table, we're going to be bringing it in. I was going to 3-bet, but having this caller here makes it even more profitable. So we're going to be making it. Our standard is 4x when we're out of position. We're going to add on a few extra BBs to account for the extra caller as well. So we're not quite going to go to 5x, but we're going to make it 140. So we get a caller. We flop a pair. I'm actually just going to check this one and check call. There's not an outrageous chance that we have sucked out on this guy with who has a he can potentially have stronger aces here, so he could be drawn to 3 outs. If he has an overpair, he is never folding. Queen is a good and bad card. It's mixed. He's going to have some Queen X here for sure, but he is also going to have a ton of pocket 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s as well to play this way. I'm actually just going to stick the money in here. Just seems like it's very hard for him to have a hand that he can really be doing this for strong value with. Pocket 6s, yeah, makes sense for sure. But as I said, I think he is going to be bluffing there at least some reasonable percentage of the time. It just doesn't make sense that he, like, unless he has, if he had a flop set for sure, obviously it makes sense. He has essentially the nuts there. But I don't even know if he's going to be betting a king there or a queen there in so strongly in such a large pot. Like, when I have shown a decent amount of strength myself, so it just seemed more like a bluff to me than anything else. And I didn't want to check call and then have to make a decision on the river where to check call again with such a weak pair. I think that jam may have been a little bit frivolous, but I don't think it's going to be bad. Obviously was bad in that specific situation, but I don't think it's going to be terrible in general. If he does have a hand at pocket 7s there, for example, I feel that he can definitely be doing that, taking a similar line. We flop the world over here. We have a flush and an open-ended straight flush draw. So we're just going to be betting. Looking to get as much value as possible from our flopped nuts, or close to it. I'm just going to go ahead and pot it here. If he has an ace, he's probably going to call. If he doesn't, he is probably going to be folding. He only calls with the queen high flush draw, which is shocking to me. He definitely missed. Like, I mean, he only had 250 left behind, but he just gave up 250 for free. How he doesn't flop a flush and get a short stack in when I'm betting into him like that is just absurd. I don't understand it. We're going to go ahead and 3-bet the ace deuce, and we're going to be ISOing with the queen jack. Jack 3 off suit, we are almost certainly going to be folding, even if it's, yeah, we're going to be folding this hand no matter what. And when we get 3-bet with the queen jack, we're just going to go ahead and fold. Potential for an interesting pot over here though. This is the prime example of a kind of flop that could have gotten us into a lot of trouble if we did decide to continue, because even though we have top pair here, there is a very, very reasonable possibility that we're not good. So we'll see how this hand plays out. One of the more interesting ones that we haven't been involved in. We get 3-bet again with the queen jack, unfortunately, so we have another fold in our hands. So Telek is going into the time bank here on the queen 7-4 board, which is a bit of a strange board to be tanking on. And we turn a set, which is quite nice, so we're going to go ahead and start betting. So Telek just ships the money in, so yeah, we were almost certainly not going to be good there with the queen jack. And a very, very quick fold by DHD Hortree M. Ace 4, I think we're going to use our ace blocker and go for a 3-bet bluff. We're going to be folding the 3-6 suited, and we are also going to be folding the 8-5 offsuit. We have to keep in mind now up in the top right table, our credibility in general has definitely taken a bit of a bashing with the ace 4 jam that we got caught out with earlier on. We flop a pair. We're going to start off checking this back and see what the turn brings. I think we're just going to try to get this to showdown now, I think. Seems reasonable to me. We beat hands like ace 10, ace queen, ace 9, not ace 9, but ace 8 and so on. Oh, are we going to make a light call down here? I think we are. Or maybe we're not. Is calling here a bit of a spew? It probably is. Never mind, we're going to go ahead and fold. I think my instinct to call there was probably not correct. We're definitely going to be ISOing here though with the suited one gappers. That much I do know. So we flop top here. This guy has 350 behind. We're just going to be betting and not planning on folding. I'm not going to love it if he sticks the money in by any stretch, but I don't think we can ever consider folding top pair versus that size stack. Completely with the flop with ace queen. We are going to start off with a check back. We turn top pair with a very good kicker. We are going to be betting now to charge the flush draw. We're not really ever going to have flushes here, so I think if he does have any kind of decent flush draw, he's going to come along and see a river. I think we're going to take a stab on the king high board here, and we're going to barrel on most turns, I think, as well. We get check raised. Okay, we're going to go ahead and fold. We're getting fairly owned up on the top right table, but fortunately we're doing okay on all other tables, so it's still been a very profitable session overall. Deuce 5 suited, I think we can just about open this. Offsuit we'd be folding for sure, but we have a hand that can flop a straight and a flush, so as ugly as it is, it's still probably going to be okay to open blind versus blind. Pocket aces on the bottom left table. Hopefully we don't get a walk. We don't. We're going to be raising it up, and hopefully we can stack the shorty. Marco Fudd with his 350. Because this guy is so short, I'm just going to click this back on him and just min raise back on him, and then just get the money in on the flop preferably, or pre, which is also fine. So we just need to hold and fade the 8, which we do, so we stack him, which is nice. So I don't really like the min click back line very much at all, but it was just, that was very particular given that he had such a short stack that it was going to be nearly impossible for him to fold. So the chances of him just shipping the money in there was pretty decent, and as I said, I don't think he's ever planning on folding there once he limp raises. So I don't want to just ship it myself though, so I think the min click back, and that'll allow us just to put in a less than pot bet to put him all in then on the flop or on the turn, depending on which we'd opt for. So I think I like our line there in general. I just realized the auto top up isn't active on the top right table, so I'm going against my principles that I mentioned earlier on of always being there for 100 BBs, but we're only marginally below it, so it's not that big a deal. Pocket queens in the top left. Hopefully we can win some more money over there. So Telek has 3 betting us again. 4 betting is too strong for a hand like pocket queens here, I think. He has raised an under the gun opener, so he should be somewhat strong. So I'm going to just go ahead and click call and play some post-flop poker. Very good flop for us for sure. He can definitely have pocket tens. That's about the only way that he has taken the lead. He can obviously still have, aces and kings, but we're happy enough just to go ahead and call down here. We turn the flush draw as well, which is nice. If he does have aces or kings without a heart, we have extra equity against him now. So we hit our flush, which is something. So it's possible we got lucky there against him, but it's also possible we had the best hand the whole way. King Queen, we're not going to be looking to play this in a multi-way pot here. We're just going to go ahead and fold. Would have been a reasonable flop for us with an open end to the nuts and some backdoor flush potential, but I'm happy enough with our fold in general. Ace Queen, we're happy to check back. Ace Queen is going to be the best hand here a ton. Betting doesn't accomplish a huge amount, and we end up turning the Queen, which is nice. We're just going to call and try to induce more bets on the river. Ace Jack, we're going to go ahead and squeeze though. We run around our top two, which is quite nice. Do we want to raise here? I mean, I feel that we do. Just going to raise small, try to get paid. We should have the best hand here a ton. If we get re-raised, we're going to be quite sad. That hand makes sense for sure. Very, very interesting call / back raise. Interesting. I think I'm going to go ahead and fold the ace jack, as sad as it makes me. I'm more so concerned about this guy rather than this guy, Fatal Conceit. He's going to show us a decent number of stronger aces, I feel. I think Vuchke is going to show us a decent amount of small pocket pairs, or just the absolute stone cold nuts. I think his jam with the sevens is pretty bad there. I think sevens is kind of borderline. I definitely wasn't expecting aces to show up there much after just flat calling the under the gun open. But I was expecting to see a decent number of kind of hands, kind of eights through pocket jacks, some worse hands, but I think the pocket sevens jam is optimistic at best though for sure. And fortunately we get away nice and cheap, so we can't complain. We lose 14 big blinds, which is more than we had to. We didn't have to go for the squeeze, but I think the squeeze in the long run is for sure going to be profitable. We can't just focus on each and every play based on the results. We have to kind of look at it in the larger scheme of things. So if you're doing some things that, you know, more often than not are going to win you money and sometimes lose you money, it's still profitable at the end of the day. You can't look at each incident in isolation. Flop top pair here, we're going to check, we're going to call. This is this Fatal Conceit guy who overplayed his sevens in the last hand. We're just going to check call again. If he bombs the river, we're going to have a kind of awkward decision. I don't think I'm planning on folding at any point here. I thought we had a straight there. I got a little bit excited. We don't. I mean, every ace he can show up with here now beats us. So we are good, which is always nice. I think, as I said, I think if he had barreled the river, I was actually going to fold there, because it's pretty hard to see him triple barreling there as a bluff, and he's almost certainly going to have either a better ace or a worse ace that's improved to 2 pair there if he triple barrels. Very often, at least. Pocket queens beat pocket tens, so Fatal Conceit spews off yet another stack there by the looks of it. I didn't see the action pre-flop there, but I think that was an all-in hand. So let's see if we can get some more overplays versus this fella. That'd be ideal. He has no hand to oblige us this time, unfortunately. Ace 10 here, we're just going to be checking back, and Jack 7 suited, I think we're going to open. It's definitely close. We don't love the king on the flop here. We're still going to have the best hand here fairly often though, so we're not overly concerned, but I think betting would be a mistake. I think we can start betting now. We want to get value from 10x and so on. And we're going to be bringing the pocket jacks in for a squeeze for value. So Marco Fudd calls with his size stack. I don't think that's particularly good. Given his stack that he has left, I think we're just going to be going with this hand. I don't love this pot size bet at all, no matter what he has, but I think there's just too much in the pot there to consider folding just to a single overcard. He has the king, which I'm not shocked at by any stretch, but I think we can't fold. Like he's got like 1.2 pot left behind, and when we've put the money in, there's only a single overcard. I think it's just one of those spots that we have to go with it, as much as I don't like it. His pot size bet did almost make me fold though. Maybe I should have folded there. Maybe that was a bit of an error, but I don't think it can be that bad. As I said, when the stack is so big in relation to his remaining pot, and we still have a reasonable holding, I think we just have to go with it, unfortunately. But that's going to end this session. So ended on a little bit of a down note, but overall a profitable session. We definitely made money here. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to share it on social media. If you have any questions for me or anything of the sort, make sure to leave the questions in the comment section. I do keep an eye on them quite regularly, so you can ask me directly. I will get back to you. As I said, that is me for the day. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a lot of fun making this. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Take care.